Well, happy opening night, NHL fans. Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Finally, we could say we can drop the puck on the 2020-21 NHL regular season. Definitely under very unusual circumstances, given with the global pandemic of COVID-19. We're definitely going to have a compressed 56-game schedule and some temporary realigned divisions. As a Calgary Flames fan, I am definitely excited for the North All-Canadian division. And then, of course, this is my alternate video recording setup, as if I'm recording, let's say, after work in the evening or at night. I tested this out, and I think this will work a little better under those circumstances, and I'll use the Wiz Lite. I have to set it to party mode, as it's time to celebrate that the NHL season has begun. And as a Calgary Flames fan, let's go over the roster on who we're going to go to war with for the 2020-21 season. Obviously, with under these unique circumstances and the salary cap being flat, that there were definitely some cap casualties, as I would say, as well as the taxi squad is what debuts for this season. So you can have extra players on call to come up to the roster, as that's why there was a bunch of players league-wide that went on waivers. So there's going to be a few players on the taxi squad I'll go over on this roster, as well as each team can carry up to 4 to 6 players on said taxi squad. But if you go to capfriendly.com, which that's one of the websites you go to as a hockey fan to see the cap situation of your team. I know there's a Puckpedia and MoneyPuck.com as well. But according to Cap Friendly, the Calgary Flames, with the moves that they made and the roster that they have started for the 2020-21 season, they actually will have $2.085 million in cap space, only icing a 20-man roster, using over $79.4 million in cap space, with the cap being 81.5%, or $81.5 million, I meant to say. However, let's note that $2.67 million of that $79.4 million is still dead cap space, as we still have Troy Brouwer's buyout that we made a couple seasons ago of $1.5 million in this season and next season. So Troy Brouwer's contract is still going to be on the books that we bought out until next season, 21-22. That 2016 free agent frenzy class is not looking good for many teams, and we're still paying for that right now, as well as Michael Stone, Defenseman Michael Stone. We bought him out last season, and we'll be talking about Michael Stone later in this video as well, as his $1.167 million is on the books, but it's off the books after this season. So that is the cap situation for the Calgary Flames, with 20 players on the opening day roster. And then the divisions, as everything's all going to be realigned, and the fact there won't be any fans in attendance at most arenas at the start of the season. Well, the 4 divisions will have sponsors. The North Division, or the All-Canadian Division, is brought to you by Scotiabank. And the West Division will be brought to you by Honda. And then the Central Division will be brought to you by Discover. And then the East Division will be brought to you by MassMutual. I believe Mass being the Massachusetts, capital, or the Massachusetts, credit union, I meant to say, or bank. So that is the division sponsors. So let's get to the Calgary Flames opening night roster for the 2020-21 season, as there's 12 forwards, 6 defensemen, and 2 goalies, and then the 6 players on the taxi squad as well. We'll touch on a couple players that made a professional tryout and what happened to those players as well. And then there's a couple of words that we'll talk about as well in this video. So the forwards, going in numerical order. The first forward is number 11, Mikael Backlund. Definitely one of the better two-way forwards in the game, and spent his entire NHL career with the Calgary Flames when we drafted him back in the first round in 2007. So we'll see how Mikael Backlund still continues, if he can maybe put himself in the Selke conversation. Well, next forward, number 13, Johnny Gaudreau. This player definitely has come under some fire the last couple seasons. What Johnny Gaudreau we're going to see, the one we saw a couple seasons ago, that was literally 1 point off of hitting 100 points, or the guy that struggled last season. And of course, he takes some heat for playoff performances, but we'll see what kind of season we'll get from Johnny Gaudreau. Number 17 is Milan Lucic, and despite the salary cap hit that we have to take on when we got him from Edmonton for James Neal, he has been a great fit for the Calgary Flames if used properly, and we'll be talking about Milan Lucic a little later in this video in a different light as well. And then number 19, Matthew Tkachuk. Let's see if he could raise his game even more to be that, pest player that got underneath the skin. There's definitely going to be a lot of gritty players in the North Division, as we've seen from signs throughout that. We'll probably bring up a few times when I recap Calgary Flames games later in the season. Number 20 is one of the newcomers for the Calgary Flames that we signed in free frenzy, and Joakim Nordstrom, the forward that we got from, who last played with the Boston Bruins. So we'll see how he fits in. He had a great camp, and he's going to be on the fourth line. And then number 23, Sean Monahan. You can probably say he's almost in the line of Johnny Gaudreau in terms of what player we're going to get this season. I mean, Sean Monahan, he's definitely still one of the younger players in the league. But this is actually his 8th season going in the NHL. Back when we drafted him back in 2013. So, and he's also climbed up in the all-time, I think he's in the all-time Flames list in top 10 in goals scored, to give you an idea how much perspective Sean Monahan has been impacting in Calgary Flames history. But, maybe as the parody accounts say, boring Sean Monahan, all we care is for the goals. And so great to have him. And then number 27 is another one of the newcomers that we got in Freeze and Frenzy, and Josh Leivo. Now we're hearing from Canuck fans. He's a very versatile forward that could plug in up and down the lineup. So we'll see how Josh Leivo fits in with the Calgary Flames. And then number 28 is Elias Lindholm, and I know that there has been talk about him moving him around, possibly even in center spot as well. I mean, Sean Monahan and Mikael Backlund are the natural centers that the Flames have right now in the top 2 lines, but we'll see what we can get out of Elias Lindholm this season, as he's definitely fit in nicely with the Calgary Flames since we brought him from the Carolina Hurricanes in the Doug Hamilton trade. And then number 29, Dillon Dube. Let's see what we get out of Dillon Dube as he's continued to establish himself as an everyday NHLer. He came so close last season, but he spent a lot more time, especially, he's played nicely on the line with Milan Lucic as well. So we'll see what we can get more out of Dillon Dube. And then number 81, this is another one of our newcomers that we got in Fraser Frenzy, and Dominik Simon, who came from the Pittsburgh Penguins, and also he played some time with Sidney Crosby. So as a Dominik Simon and Joakim Nordstrom were cheaper cap hits that we brought in for depth, and which I'm going to say those are one of the big signings that we have just to get more depth, because once we lost Matthew Tkachuk in the first round against the Dallas Stars last year, we definitely missed him and could have used some depth, so we'll see how that comes out. And then number 88, Andrew Monjiapani. Let's see how he continues his progression, being in the top 6 forward for the Calgary Flames, as he's definitely been a nice pickup that we got in the 6th round back in 2015. And you might say outside of Calgary, he's not as appreciated as much as he is on the team, but that's what we have. And then number 93 for the last forward, Sam Bennett, who complements that line with Dillon Dube and Milan Lucic that we saw in the playoffs last season. What Sam Bennett are we going to get this season? Because he's the opposite of a Johnny Gaudreau or Sean Monahan, that he steps up his game in the playoffs. But in the regular season, he's been steady, and sometimes he frustrates you, but I'm going to say he's reinvented himself very well as a checking forward, considering he was drafted 4th overall in 2014. So those are your 12 forwards. So we'll see how that pans out. So now let's look on to the defense here. And Rasmus Andersson, number 4, is the first numerical up. And I'm going to say he's another one of our up-and-coming young defensemen that I'm going to say in the future will definitely be in the top 2, the way he's progressed. And also, remember last season, he actually played with a broken foot during that Dallas series, and he's still pretty effective, all things considered. So that's number 4, Rasmus Andersson. And number 5 is Mark Giordano, the captain. How much more gas does he still have left in the tank? I mean, a couple seasons ago, he won the Norris Trophy, but he still has a couple years left on the contract, and this would be one of those interesting decisions that the Calgary Flames might need to make when it comes to the Seattle Kraken expansion draft on protecting players. We'll see what kind of season Mark Giordano has, considering he is the captain. I'm going to say going towards the tail end of his career, but he's still very effective in the top 2 or even top 4 worst case scenario. And then number 6, this number has changed and is welcoming back Yusuf Al-Maki, as he missed all of last season with that ACL injury, and we definitely missed him. But Yusuf Al-Maki is now number 6 in your program on defense, and I would say, given that he got loaned in Europe for the first couple months of the traditional hockey season, and how he's looked there, he's definitely ready to get back in the NHL and be more of an everyday defenseman. His old number 8, now that goes to one of our big free agent frenzy signings in Chris Tanev, who we got from the Vancouver Canucks. All we hear from Chris Tanev is that he's definitely a great locker room player, and he plays hard, but let's hope he doesn't get too injured. That's the only caution that we've been hearing for his contract that we signed. But it's great to see Chris Tanev here on this side of the Rockies instead of on the west side. And then number 55, Noah Hanifin. Well, have we seen the best out of Noah Hanifin since he has come here from the Carolina Hurricanes? I know that he's obviously going to be compared to Dougie Hamilton in some ways. He's somewhat replacing Dougie Hamilton as the offensive defenseman, and then there's always been all these trade rumors that you've heard in the offseason with Noah Hanifin, but he's a solid top 4 defenseman, but he is still here wearing number 55. And then the last defenseman is number 89, Nikita Nesterov, which be interesting to see how he pans out after spending the last 3 seasons with the KHL. I believe Avangard Omsk, if I remember right, where he originally played. He did originally get drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning, and he played with the Montreal Canadiens as well before going to the Continental Hockey League. But I hear that Nikita Nesterov played really well in training camp as well. What's different also with this season is that there was no preseason games to judge how players are looking. It's all based on scrimmages, and everybody's in the same boat when it comes to that, although that is your 6th defenseman. Then the 2 goaltenders, I'm going to say we definitely have better goaltending overall this season looking in, as we got our biggest prize free agent signing is number 25, Jacob Markstrom, who we got from the Vancouver Canucks. Interesting that he has a connection to that number 25, and actually what is an interesting story with this is that Jacob Markstrom, when he came to Calgary in the free agent and asked what number he wear, well, as you recall, number 25, you can almost debate should it be retired by the Calgary Flames, but at least is honored in the Forever Flame program for Joe Nieuwendyk. And actually Jacob Markstrom, he actually said he contacted Joe Nieuwendyk himself to ask if it's okay for him to wear that number, and Joe Nieuwendyk said go ahead, and he actually appreciated the call. So it'll be interesting to see how Jacob Markstrom will play not only in net, hopefully being that stud goaltender that we've been looking for since Mika Kiprusoff retired. Number 25, and then number 33, David Riddick, Big Say Dave. We'll see how he plays, knowing that the last couple seasons he kind of was given the starting job, but then towards the end of the season in the stretch drive, he lost in favor to Cam Talbot last season and Mike Smith a couple seasons ago. However, now with Jacob Markstrom and David Riddick as our tandem, I'm going to say we definitely have had a better tandem, I'm going to say, since 2004, at least when we had Mika Kiprusoff and Roman Turek. And may I add there, they're both All-Stars. They both were the Pacific Division All-Stars last year, so we definitely have a great tandem in that front as well. So that is your opening day roster. So now when it comes to the taxi squad, we got 6 players on the taxi squad, and there's a couple intriguing names, should we say, that is on here. Well, the first player is number 3, Connor Mackey, who we signed from the University of Minnesota back in March, I believe. Yeah, I made a video talking about it was Colton Poulin and Connor McKay that we signed as defensemen. Well, he stood out in camp, but he is starting off on the Texas squad considering he came from college ranks, so we'll see how much game action he is going to get this season. And then number 10, we can say this is possibly a cap casualty, is Derek Ryan. He is on the taxi squad. I mean, his salary cap at this stage now looks like it's a little bit of a little expensive for, I mean, he's a solid 4th line center, and he did provide what we signed him for a couple seasons. I mean, he is a free agent after the season, but it'd be interesting to see how much playing time we'll give Derek Ryan this season. But he starts off on the taxi squad. I guess it's definitely going to say more for cap casualty, because if he was on the opening day roster, we would be over the cap as well. And the fact that he was put on waivers, and all players, especially if they played enough games, you have to put them on waivers before they hit the taxi squad or possibly go down to the American Hockey League. And there's also a quirk that if you pick him up, you can't put him on the waivers or your taxi squad or your minor leagues without putting him on waivers himself. So essentially, if you put him on waivers and someone picks him up, there has to likely be a spot for him in the regular lineup. And then if you want to demote that player, you got to put that player on waivers, and then the team that lost him have a chance to get him back. So that's just a one quick quirk there. And then number 36, Zac Renault. It's great that we have him back for depth. I'm going to say he's going to be one of those players that we can add in the lineup for extra grit as well. I think he won out over another player that we'll talk about in the professional tryout. So then the third of three forwards, because Derek Ryan and Zac Renault are the two forwards. The third one is number 53, Buddy Robinson, who's been signed for depth, and he is actually friends with Johnny Gaudreau, but he's played a couple games here and there with the Winnipeg Jets and then the Calgary Flames this past season. And then number 58, Oliver Shillington. This is back on the tax spot. I mean, I think right now at this stage, he's either going to be just a depth defenseman, 6'7" defenseman, considering that Calgary's had a strong defensive group since Oliver Shillington has joined the Calgary Flames when we drafted him back in 2015. But it seems like he can either just get in the lineup or not. But at least he's still here on taxi squad. And then the third goalie we got was one of the players that we signed in free agent frenzy. He's actually wearing number 70, is Louie Domingue, who all teams will have three goalies to carry on this taxi squad or either on the active roster. So those are the 6 players on the taxi squad, and those are the 20 players that we have on the opening day lineup. So what do you think of the opening day lineup for the Calgary Flames, and who we plan to go to war with in the North All-Canadian Division? And then more the professional tryouts. Well, we actually signed 3 players to professional tryout. The first one was Garret Sparks, the goaltender, that I had to make a video on that just because I just remember all the hype that he had when he was with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Well, actually, he has been assigned to the Stockton Heat. I know he's under contract right now with the Orlando Silver Bears in the East Coast Hockey League, but for the time being, he is going to skate with the AHL Stockton Heat. In the American Hockey League, I mean, the American Hockey League's not going to play for another 3 weeks as well, so he's at least been signed to the AHL team, but he hasn't been cut loose, but he hasn't been signed officially with the Calgary Flames either. And then the other players that we signed for professional trial was Defenseman Michael Stone, and he actually originally, was a Calgary Flame after we made that trade for the Phoenix/Arizona Coyotes. And I always got to throw in that he actually played with the Calgary Hitmen and was one of the co-captains of the team that went to the Memorial Cup in 2010. But at this stage, it looks like Michael Stone is only going to be a depth defenseman, but he actually got released from his professional tryout, and with the buyout, he's still getting paid by the Calgary Flames, but now he's a unrestricted free agent, so Michael Stone's available for anybody who is available who wants him. And then one late arrival we got was forward Brett Ritchie, who I looked him up. I mean, he mostly played with the Dallas Stars and recently with the Boston Bruins. He has over 260 games as a gritty forward, but he was late arriving in camp due to quarantine requirements with COVID. But he actually got released from his professional tryout as well. So the only player that we could say is started with the Calgary Flames from a professional tryout is Garret Sparks, the goalie, but he's in the Stockton Heat, which is probably what I expected coming in to begin with. So that's all the roster news. Now, here's a couple of awards, interesting honors for a couple of Flames, with Sam Bennett and Milan Lucic, as they both won some team awards. Sam Bennett won the Ralph and Sonia Scorfield Humanitarian Award, and Milan Lucic, as well as employee of the Calgary Sports and Entertainment Group, Deidre Campinga, if I said the name right, won the J.R. Bud McKay Award, which, if you look at the article that I will have in the description below, that basically the Sam Bennett Award that Sam Bennett won for the Ralph and Sonia Scorfield Humanitarian Award. This award is presented annually to the Flames player who best exemplifies perseverance, determination, leadership, on the ice combined with dedication and community service off the ice. And this is the longest serving team award. That first was won by Ryan McDonald in the conclusion of the 1986-97 season. And then Sam Bennett, since beginning his NHL career with the Calgary Flames in the fall of 2015, he's been a valuable asset to the team and the Calgary community. Prior to the start of the 17-18 season, Sam approached the Flames with the goal of becoming an ambassador for the Brown Bagging for Kids Calgary Kids program. This program supports kids providing 3,800 healthy lunches daily to those who go to school without enough to eat every day. His goal was to raise awareness, gain financial support, and make 50,000 lunches. In the first year, Sam Bennett and the Calgary Flames Foundation donated $70,000 to BB4CK. Sam continues to support the program each year with a $10,000 donation matched by the Calgary Flames Foundation and visits schools supported by the program. So that's what just that award as well. And then the Scotiabank family devoted their time to the community and was very important to bringing the Calgary Flames to Calgary back in 1980. And Sonia, actually, she is one of the few women that has her name on the Stanley Cup from 1989. Was a philanthropist, community leader, and businesswoman whose legacy will be carried on with their children. Sonia is the only Canadian woman to have her name engraved on the Stanley Cup, and accomplished it when she as a co-owner with the Flames back in 1989 when we won the Stanley Cup. Sonia, with his wife, was a predominant Calgary businessman, Ralph Scotiabank Sr., and co-owner of the Calgary Flames, who were tragically lost in the heli skiing accident. So it's an honor of these owners as well. He was recognized as a leader in the Calgary business community and a builder of the University of Calgary business operations. Mr. Scotiabank was a true supporter of all sports and believer in community involvement. Interesting they mentioned that as well, because I work in the engineering and planning industry. One of the projects I am working on is at the university, and there's a Scotiabank Hall, so there's full circle in there as well. So that's about Sam Bennett. Now, Milan Lucic, as well as Deidre Kampenga, who won the J.R. Bud McKaig Award. This award honors two Flames personnel, a player and a staff member, so that's why there's two winners, one who is actually on the ice and one who works behind the scenes, who best exemplified Mr. McKaig's enduring values or virtues, respect, courtesy, and compassion for all individuals he encountered both professionally and in everyday life. This year's recipients is Milan Lucic and Deidre Kampenga. So when we acquired him from Edmonton in the James Neal trade, since then Milan has been one of the Flames leaders both on and off the ice. So despite what you say about Milan Lucic, he's been one heck of a player to have in the community. Leading by example of his experience of his 14-year NHL career on the ice, Milan is both compassionate and respectful of all his teammates, staff, and fans he encounters through his hockey profession as well in his daily life. He is originally from Vancouver. Milan is quick to refer himself as an Albertan now that he's fallen in love with the city, the mountains, and Calgary's friendly community. In addition to his wife Brittany, who always eager to support and lend a hand to help any cheerful endeavor, quickly making him a fan favorite here in Calgary. So that's all about Milan Lucic. And then Deidre Kampenga has been with the Calgary Sports and Entertainment Corporation since March 2013. Currently as Director of Human Resources, Deidre operates a high degree of professionalism, good judgment, considering the best interests of both the employee and the company when seeking solutions. She acts with all compassion for all her staff, respectful employees while working through these difficult issues. Deidre also demonstrates these qualities in helping the leaders in the Calgary Sport and Entertainment Group by developing and restructuring the staff to meet the goals and needs of their organization. And then, once again, this honors one of the past owners. The Flames lost owner J.R. Bud McKaig 15 years ago following a lengthy battle with cancer. McKaig was a long-time member of the Flames ownership group and a great contributor to the Calgary community. The recipients of the J.R. McKaig and Sonia Ralph Scotiabank Award will receive a limited edition bronze statue sculpted by local Alberta artists. So that's the gist of what Sam Bennett and Milan Lucic won going into the season. So congratulations to both those Flames as well as Deidre Kampenga for sharing the honor for the McKaig. And now there's going to be three more awards that will be unveiled that will be exclusively fan or Calgary Flames submitted. First, there will be the Harley N. Hotchkiss Award for the team's most valuable player. And Harley Hotchkiss is one of the first original owners of the Calgary Flames. And then you got Daryl Doc Seaman Award for the player that leads the team in scoring and points. Then the last award will be named after Clayton Riddell Award for the Flames defenseman who demonstrates the greatest all-around ability. So it'll be interesting to see who wins these awards. And all awards are based on regular season play as well as honored lives of past owners. And as I say, I have the link in the description below for about the award on all these awards. Currently won and will be won in the future. So that's what do you think about everything when it comes to the Calgary Flames going into the 2020-21 season. Hopefully the roster we have built together will achieve, because the expectations are, you could say, a little high considering that a couple seasons ago the Calgary Flames had the best season in a generation where we were the best team in the Western Conference. And last season we slipped a little, and then he definitely dealt with a lot of, a lot of off-ice issues, both with the team and, of course, what's been going on right now. But that's the thing. At the end of the day, we couldn't get out of the first round, and I think that's all that's going to matter this season with the Calgary Flames is getting out of the first round. It's definitely going to be interesting. I'm definitely going to enjoy the All-Canadian division. I mean, it's a novelty for this season only, and it will not be a permanent thing, and I think long-term the players will probably vote against it anyway, just because the travel between the All-Canadian teams, given how big and wide Canada is, as well as the cost. As you know, as you're a traveler, that traveling within Canada is a lot more expensive than traveling, anywhere in the continental U.S. So it's definitely going to be fun, and we'll see how the season goes. And I did recently start season 3 of my Calgary Flames game recaps, so in a couple weeks after the Flames play their first 6 games of the 2020-21 season, I'll be back and recapping what happened in the 6 games and giving my mood on how the Flames are doing up to that point. And I'll recap every 6 games till we win the Stanley Cup. May it dare dream. So anyway, as I say, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fan's journey, home of the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders, I mostly do talk Calgary sports on my YouTube channel, but I also do have personal blogs, attempt to comedy, and I also do share my experiences as I'm on the road or at a sport event. So if that all sounds like it'd be interesting to watch, do follow along with this Calgary sports fan's journey. You know what you do, just make sure you hit like, subscribe. I also have my other social media links down in the description below. So yeah, finally we could drop the puck on the 2020-21 season. Calgary Flames will have to wait one more night, but we can waited over 10 months. It's been 10 months since we've had some regular season action, and it's been over 4 months since we last bowed out against the Dallas Stars in the bubble playoffs after we waited 3.5 months to get from whatever decided from the regular season to get into the bubble. And it's definitely going to be interesting. Is that the Calgary Flames' first game will it be against the Winnipeg Jets, where it happened to be the team that we knocked out in the playoff series in the 2014 playoff. So as I say, go Flames go, and I'll see you in the next video.